So yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll give it away, haven't I? Turns out I've been using AI for 57 years. You didn't realise it. You can keep using it. So collecting. So I'm going to do a talk about collecting. It's a misnomer, by the way, that magpies collect things. So just my background. I was brought up on a hill farm in Cumbria. Sheep mainly, cows, few ducks, turkeys, that sort of thing. Quite an idyllic upbringing, really, looking back at it, but it was a very practical upbringing. This is my dad's shed, or one of the sheds. Nothing went to waste, really. You know, on a farm, you know, if he's got a second use, you keep it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's another shot there. That's the shed. That's my office. Yeah, we put the two together. And what my friend was saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So yeah. So collecting, why is it important to use print individuals? Well, collecting is understanding, right? The more you collect, the more you understand. My take anyway. So in this presentation, I'll share some of my own collections that came about by collecting, and also I'll be showing one or two other people's as well. Yeah? So, before I start, I just want to point out the difference between collecting and hoarding. That's hoarding. Yeah? And hoarding is collecting. The difference is collecting is curated and hoarding is not. Yeah? That's what I look, that's what I think it is. It's just collecting for collecting's sake, really. So, some examples of classic collecting, right? So this is kind of like stamp collecting, which is called philately. Have we got any collectors in the audience? One or two. Oh, brilliant. So I've got the Reverend's got a congregation. Yeah? And by the end of this congregation, you'll leave this room wanting to collect, won't they, Tim?
Yes.
If you're not already thinking about it, I'll come into it. Yes, and I actually have it here. So this is my stamp collecting book when I was about 12 or 13. You can have a look through that. That's some of the collections there. There's other things, Beermats, which is actually, I can't pronounce it. Tegestorsten. Matchboxes for Luminic. Fruit stickers. Not even going to attempt that one. You can see that on the top there. But there's some more unusual collections as well. You know, I found this. Somebody who collects kind of like those plastic toggles from bakery items. That's quite interesting. Till receipts, but also kind of how logos work on till receipts as well. It's quite interesting. So ephemera, we touched upon ephemera, but what is it? A lot of you might not have heard that phrase, you know what I mean, until today. So this is what ephemera is, right? It's kind of like that. It's from the Greek, lasting only one day, ephemeros. But ultimately, it's the minor transient documents of everyday life. Yeah. So there's a list of things there it can be. But the last cut off of the sentence is also, you know, in the 90s it became used digital artifacts and text. So it's not just printed, you know. In fact, we live in a society that's incredibly ephemeral when you think about it. Digitally, it's here today, gone tomorrow. In fact, you're scrolling in seconds. Now this is some of the archive, right along with the bags. And periodically I have an exhibition. So this is the stuff that would have ended up in that skip. And I keep getting it out every now and again and put it in the gallery, just for people to feed their heads on. And it's amazing how people just walk past it. Yeah, sorry, that doesn't really give me a question of people walking past my exhibition. Because you've got a lot of effort, you know what I mean? Anyway, so the Ephemeris magazine, which actually got some here actually. This is the Ephemeris magazine, which is the Ephemeris Society's magazine. So it comes out quarterly, I think, or is it, what did you say? Quarterly? Yeah, quarterly journal. It's got a good website, very niche. I think have you been featured in it, Tim?
Yeah, I'm on the board.
You're on the board? Bloody hell, you know that. I've got a board member of the Ephemeris.
Twice yearly.
Oh, yeah. How many people are on the board, Tim? You and Jeff?
Pardon?
How many people are on the board? You and Jeff?
Dickov is the guy who runs the board. That's the fellow there, that's what I think of.
Didn't know that. Well, back to collecting. So once you have a quantity of something, then you can analyse it and then begin to see the similarities and differences. So you can see and make connections in type, style, shape and form. You can then begin to collate it order it, arrange it, rearrange it, sequence it, and create pattern. And also you can get an insight into subcultures and human behaviour, I think. And someone once said, I don't know who said it, but they said this, it's a great way to recreate a bond between people and objects and show that good design comes from knowledge and from the love of things and whoever uses it. So a little bit, Michael Johnson touched upon them. This is Brown, John, Chernieff and Giesmeyer, I think I've said their names right, 1957. So these three guys were at the forefront of American graphic design in the 50s. And they produced stuff like this, which you might still recognize. I think all these identities are still going today. The Chase Manhattan, Mobile, National Geographic and NBC. But what they did, because the company and the surnames were kind of like quite, possibly before I start that here, I found this about them. They're anthologists, assemblers, compilers, who reduplicate the things that they put together. They multiply them tenfold or more, and it's a technique of repetition that they call collection. And in this process, they transform whatever they collect, give it a new turn, and they view it with a new meaning. So I pulled that out because it had the word collection in it. So this is a piece of work they did, and they collected all the correspondence that was sent to them that were misspelt, because their surnames are kind of like quite difficult to spell. So, and what they did was they created a kind of poster of all the misspellings that they got over the years, and they used it as an exhibition poster. The exhibition I think was for, I can't remember, so this exhibition was 1959. So that's an example of a collecting which is quite unusual. Somebody in the office had the idea, get your name wrong all the bloody time. And then fast forward to 2006, I found this, which is kind of like a DAD winner, self-promotional poster for a guy called Graham Birch, which is really quite clever, because basically the punchline is he's a freelancer who will travel. So what he's done, he's basically systematically gone around and photographed the sticker on the back of the car that you've got to have in Europe, yeah, when you're travelling abroad. So two nice little ideas, 60, 70 years apart, I suppose. They involve collections. Yeah? So back to till receipts. Now this is Shambles Square in the Arndale in 1990. I worked in Manchester during this period. I was there. It was a good place to be. Oasis, football there, Man United, the clubs were brilliant, everyone was raving. And every dinner time I would go into a supermarket, which actually isn't in that shot. I had to find quite a while to get that shot. But there was loads and loads of till receipts, basically. And they were all over the floor. And I thought, oh, I'll pick a few up and just interested to see what people were buying. And I thought, well, what if I could actually create an alphabet out of till receipts? Find out what the products are. So you got F for Flora, yeah? But a lot of them were own brands, so they just had S for Safeway. But I managed to collect these, and once I got an alphabet, I was able to do this. I create a till receipt with a subliminal message, which actually goes down the right-hand edge, which says consume or die. So I had to buy those products and till them through, make sure that the cashier, well, no, what this one? All I was really interested in was the till receipt. I remember the time I was just fixated with the fucking till receipt. And I got it wrong the first time. It didn't quite work. So I had to go back and rebuy everything again, you know what I mean? And I don't need some elegance tights or some onions, all smashed into potato. But then I was thinking, I could do the complete works of Shakespeare now, on a till receipt. But how much would that cost? But I remember the time, and one thing, I'll go back, before chairs, I'll go back, what I like about this, it was 4:04 on the 15th of July 1997, and Mary was on the cashier. So me and Mary were complicit in producing that piece of work. You never went any further. Well, I didn't have any word fuck, but I've got the till receipt here. I had to lacquer it to fade, so the original till receipt is there. If anyone wants to come see it again. And I opened it up this morning and it's fading even more. So there it is as an item, yeah, so you can have a look at that later on. But yeah, so that was till receipts. The chairs, I call this a seat of learning, 2015. It's 81 chairs in a 9x9 formation. So essentially what I did was, I was working with a student on a project with chairs, and I thought, well, it would be interesting to see how many different chairs there are in the Victoria building. The student wasn't that bothered about it, and I let it rest for about a year. And I thought, do you know what? I'm a free graduate. I thought, I'll just go and find out how many chairs there are that are different. There they all are. In fact, I have a chair here. Look. I think this one here is one of the chairs. There you go. feeling it's that one. Might not be. So, and I then put them in the gallery and arranged them all, 9 by 9. And then I went and convinced lots of people to sit in them. So, what I quite like about this is I've got the class of 2025 sort of looking at the class of 2015. Introduce you to each other. There you are. It was shortly after this that we ended up with these. And they sort of standardised it. And I thought to myself, oh, I wonder if my exhibition had anything to do with that. And they came across and thought, Jesus, this class they're all individual in here. It's anarchy, do you know what I mean? And part of me thinks, well, aren't we all individuals? Do you know what I mean? There's something sad about this. We should all have our own chair. I mean, we're all independent creatives, we all think we're unique. You know, this thing is conformity, isn't it? We're trying, slowly, we're being conformed without knowing how to think on. Let's go to this small island in Singapore. Just off Singapore, that's Cebu Island. I want to talk about there for 2 weeks. My friend Tommy was working in Singapore, and we made a little free holiday. What people do in Singapore is, at the weekend, they get out of Singapore and maybe go up into Malaysia to some islands. And we found ourselves on this small island. And I'm one of those people who don't like sort of standing around on holiday, sort of lying around. I went for a walk, and at one end of the beach, there was a ridiculous amount of flip-flops washed up. I couldn't believe it. And I started collecting, none of them matched. None of these matched. So I thought I'll do something with them. So I sort of created spirals of 100 there, starting from the smallest to the largest. It was quite difficult to sort of take a photograph of it. I had to get a beer barrel from the local bar to stand on to get out to take a photograph of it. And that was it, I just left it there. And then I put these in because this is a similar sort of thing, but Pembrokeshire 2020, which is collecting. This was just something I did while the kids were kind of like, you know, swimming around or doing something like that, so just left it there. And I did this in lockdown, whenever the height of lockdown. So I just needed to find myself and chill out. Got commissioned to create a wooden alphabet for Habitat, the department store. When my wife was working there, I got to know people and socialise with the design team, and they said, oh, can you create us an alphabet? We want to create a printed wooden block alphabet to sell in the shop. I thought, oh, brilliant, because type's my thing. So I spent a long time doing this. I got paid, which was, I can't remember, not a lot really, but I spent a long time doing this, because basically I wanted to create something that I would love to have bought. So it's just not all the same typeface. So I spent a long time kind of like finding the different ones. You know, I like that lowercase g I quite like, you know what I mean, just for the shape, that's a Futura O, Gill Shadow, P for parking, I for information, oops, sorry, you know, and all the numerals as well, but within there. And also what's quite nice about it is that no matter what you do, every time you sort of print with them, it's somebody's different name, you know, it's quite nice, you get a different sort of thing. And I've actually got this, how strangely, if I've got it at the front here, if anybody wants to see it, it's here. That's it's the only one in existence. This is the test copy, which came from Thailand. It was too expensive to do in the end, unfortunately. But yeah, but what was nice about it, there it is. I've used it over the years, and because I've used it so much, this is really nice. What's the thing that's underneath? Really the patina. So yeah, that was really nice as well. And they were going to put it on cups, but they never did. So yeah, and that was the end of that. Mr Magoo, do you know Mr Magoo? Everyone familiar with Mr Magoo?
I remember.
I think he's still syndicated on the Cartoon Network. Mr Magoo was created in 1949. The thing about Mr Magoo is myopic. Basically, you can't see through short sighted. He keeps mistaking things for things, and then you know, comedy and things ensue. So that's Mr Magoo. Now the reason I've got Mr Magoo there is basically we did a project once years ago, famous people's sort of collections, and I sort of thought, what would Mr Magoo's sort of butterfly collection look like? But it would sort of look like everything that wasn't a butterfly. And I was trying to put it here. And a lot of fun. It took one weekend in Dalston and Stoke Newton, me and my wife. He said, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to try and find anything I possibly can that looks like a butterfly. And then just put it in an IKEA kind of cabinet case. And then give it some Latin names, so there's some funny little names there, yeah. So we've got pasta, bow tie, pastiae. So I'm just trying to give them sort of strange. Biscuitus dicutii, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. That's whimsy. Yeah, that's whimsical. Yeah. And it went on the bedroom wall of my son's bedroom. He's in the audience. Was it on your wall or not?
It was.
You probably haven't got a clue what was going on when you were 7, but I... Anyway. Pattern. Pattern's really important. I kind of photograph pattern. Anybody photograph pattern?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, you like these. So yeah, I've got loads. I don't do it intermittently. Sometimes I just do it kind of now and again. I've got, I know where they're from though. That's frozen footsteps from the top of Kinder. Is it Kinder? The Derbyshire? There's some bats on the side, kind of graffiti from Melbourne. And yeah, things like that. Some things that just water. You know, you get water swirling in the bottom of a kind of like. So yeah, and you do colour and stuff like that. So collect those. I like the middle one. Do you know what the middle one is? Vegetables. Bok choy. That's bok choy. Yeah, right, vegetables. Yeah. So I'm just gonna. That's a hyper close up of a billboard. That's artificial street signs and stuff like that. That one there was in London, and somebody stuffed a whole shop window with nothing but those blue bags that used to get to takeaways from kind of like there. It looked really quite good. I didn't know. I couldn't work out whether it was actually an art piece or whether it was just a hoarder living there. Obsessions and subcultures. Right, I'm going to go to obsessions, right, and subcultures. Whenever you happen across obsession, you will generally encounter some form of creativity. It provides a fascinating and rich source to gain an insight into subjects, behaviour, mannerisms, and more often than not, it's an opportunity to collect. So I'm going to show you some examples of spontaneous collecting. Pirates. So in Conway 2016, we just went as a family with our friends for Easter time, and just so happened that weekend there was a pirate festival in Conway. Conway's in North Wales, so we've been there, got a little bit of a harbour. Anyway, so I was very excited because the Jackson and Freddie, you know, were the right age for pirates. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, he got down to Conway, and there was some proper serious pirates. Right, you know. These people, you know, what I didn't realise, there's pirate festivals around the country, so these people probably travel around. There's an opportunity to dress up as pirates. But what was really interesting was, you know, there was a lot of other people getting involved in the town. Everybody got involved in the town. Pirates, you know, pirates everywhere. They were drinking the pirates. There was then they obviously had a boat. You know, the ship came in and everything like this. It was really great. But what I sort of thought was, hold on a minute, this one was a Jolly Rogers here. The Jolly Roger is the pirate flag. And I started to sort of think, oh dear, and I just got one of these. Well, I haven't just got one of these. Digicamera, I'll go on to that. We're talking about collecting now digitally. So you'd have to sort of photograph stuff, loads of it. We're talking about 200-300 photographs, take them out, keep it out, put it back in, come back home, and all that sort of stuff, which I think is an interesting, you know, now you take pictures on your phone and I don't know what happens to them, you know what I mean? So that yeah. But even the local shop was, you know, the bakery, and they'd even gone to you know, put the skull and crossbones on that. So I thought, oh, no, I'll just start photographing these, you know what I mean? So I just spent most of 2 or 3 hours while the kids were messing about, just stalking people. I didn't do with that, which, yeah, I didn't do much with it, but it's there now. But at that point in time, I look back at it, I don't think there's anywhere in the whole British Isles that had more concentration of Jolly Rogers at that point in time, and I managed to capture them. So it was a jolly good weekend, really. Now the Chelsea Flower Show. This is proper obsession, right? Proper obsession. Right? These people are obsessed. Right? Royal Chelsea, 117 years going, once a year. They spend all year growing these plants and everything, and vegetables, because they've got to show it at Chelsea. And their father and forefathers and families have done it. Some people have been showing it at Chelsea for years, you know. I'd recommend you go, it's an amazing thing. And then this shows the obsession. I remember I went past this in the Grand Pavilion, and I went past it, and I went to my wife and said, yeah, this is symmetrical. It was massive. And I looked up and there's a bloke who was behind me and he just looked at me. Of course it is, mate. He looked at me like that. So, you know, this is particularly in cacti, it's symmetrical. So, you know, amazing really. And look, the colour coordination, you know, certain stands, the extreme, you know, it's a riot for the eyes and also the nose. It's just kind of a riot of colour, you know, and it's just people taking things to an extreme. And the fruit, I had to do an A for me, so I just noticed that one's on the turtle. So yeah, there you go. But it became swiftly apparent that everybody, and I thought everybody's wearing floral outfits, and I've just got one of these. You know, and so while my wife was going on, she's really into flowers. I just started going, I'm going to start photographing people. So I didn't bother saying, excuse me, do you mind if I take a photograph? Do you know? So I spent most of my time creeping up behind people. And they were everywhere, you know, everywhere. Everything was covered in, you know. And then, this is a snapshot of some of those floral outfits, do you know what I mean? So yeah. Oh, vintage car show. Again, I didn't go to this on purpose. I was just going down to my cousin's wedding for the weekend in a place called Stamford in Northamptonshire. And we happened across this car, classic car, vintage car show. And then again, let's go back to the people. Let's have a look at that picture. So what we have a man here with a pith helmet on, smoking, having a gin and tonic, with his wife in a barber jacket, with a Uni Jack, porcelain. They've even brought this. Cheese and biscuits. But then again, you would, wouldn't you, if you drove a car like that? Do you know what I mean? So these are, yeah. And so again, great opportunity to go around, and you know, these people are obsessed by the cars, and just kind of like looking at all the details. So these are some of the shots that I took while I was there, and then just curated them into stuff like that. So that's kind of and this one, finally, this one, John Groats, 2013, went to holiday by my uncle, who sadly passed away last year. Lived the good life at the top of Scotland in a little cottage you can see in the background, or what they call a button ben, and then a few acres of land. And he had loads of, he had a scrapyard essentially, and he was a big collector of cars and stuff like that. So what I did was, while I was there, I started to sort of like look at the type, and because it's so wild and remote at the top of Scotland, you know, a lot of these things are rusted and kind of like got quite a lot of patina to them. So you know, I created an alphabet. It took about 300-400 photographs to get down and select and curate the alphabet. And I didn't do much with it. I just created him a poster, Jack Ornell's Genuine Scarf Scary Scrapyard, and I ran it out and I sent it to him as a poster to put on his wall, which was quite nice. Now, does anyone else see a nice set of knockers? That's the only bit of smut that you're going to get in this, right? Alright? That's about the end of the pier I'm going to get. And we're so close to Blackpool, I thought I can't not get a bit of smut in there, innuendo. So yeah, I know that's probably disappointed a few people in the audience. But these are kind of like doorknockers. Mainly from a fishing village called Robin Hood's Bay, or Staithes. Little fishing villages in the northeast. The bottom ones are from York, and then this one is from a place that I can't quite remember that we passed through. So whenever I see any door knockers, I will get my camera out. So yeah, knolling. Anybody know about knolling? I didn't know about knolling until a few years ago. Do you know what knolling is? No, alright, okay. You probably will know it. Knolling is a term coined in 1987 by this guy, Andrew Cromwell, and he was a janitor working in the furniture fabric shop for the brand Knoll. Knoll is a furniture brand. That's where it came from, really. And it refers to the arranging of similar objects in a precise perpendicular manner. And the goal of it is to create a sense of order, clarity and alignment, really, out of organised. So anybody with OCD, this is your game, really. Oh, sorry, I'll go back. This is from a sketchbook, I think. And he did it to sort of to do the tools, really. There's 4 basic rules to knolling. That's it, really. So I think everybody can get their head around that. So you're just kind of like, but you will come across it, because basically these are just examples. Now that could be from a tool brochure or anything like that. You know what I mean? You can knoll things in colour. Yeah, colour related. Now you might. Now this is where you start thinking, oh, I have seen this before in recipe books. Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing. You know what I mean? And you know, that's product designers and engineers who take something apart to put all its component things in, and then sort of go back to the flip-flops, and then you've got, you know, they're just kind of like things probably washed up on a beach, you know what I mean, somebody's collected those. And then this is from the art, oh, strange enough, I've got it here. The art of looking sideways. This is just a shot from there. This is Alan Fletcher's book, by the way, well worth a read, or even a look, really. This is extreme. This is a peasant farmer's son who collected these in northern Italy, in Parma. Which are all agricultural tools. So if you ever go to Italy on holiday, Jane, for conference week, we had a sort of a short email conversation about whether she would come. And the reason I basically wanted to come, because I sort of found her on Instagram, and she has got this thing called Found and Chosen, and it's the joy in tiny things, basically. She's based in North Yorkshire somewhere, but she didn't want to come, unfortunately. But I thought, sure, and what she does, she's well worth following. She has got a massive collection of miniature things, and she's sort of like every now and again, maybe every day or every other day, she'll put a post up and stuff like that. And they're just kind of like lovely. And they make me smile for a bit, you know what I mean? I particularly like this one, because you can tell someone who's an extreme collector when they've actually got that amount of small hippos. But then they can actually sort of like differentiate the ones between the quiet ones and then the loud ones, just shouting. Do you know what I mean? So it's got it, you know. And then these are like kind of, they're cocktail sticks that you put your olive on maybe if you're having a gin and tonic or yeah. So I want to bring up Cabinet of Curiosities. So this is something I just did recently in the autumn, which is in the corridor. It's not in here, I couldn't bring it in because it's a bit delicate. So this kind of is based on Cabinet of Curiosities, I called it. So I looked into it. Cabinet of Curiosities is kind of, it goes back to the 16th century, but it sort of reached a height in George in England, where very rich people might go on tours of Europe and collect things like fossils and bring them back. They would create whole rooms. And the reason for it really was to sort of entertain guests after the dinner party. But that's kind of a bit of a definition of a cabinet of curiosity, which I found really just fascinating odd objects. So there were kind of like fossils and things that people have never seen, you know, back then probably a bit of taxidermy. So basically, I've got a massive collection of stuff, and I've got access to other stuff as well, which is kind of like buttons. I'll go back to kind of like my mum's and dad's house, and they keep everything, and then there's just sort of a huge box of buttons that go back to 1800s and stuff like that. So, and again, I've collected things over the years from charity shops, car boot sales, and this is not me. This is me pre-nolling to get to kind of like producing this. So this is an old type tray. So you see, it's got different kind of like different kind of depths. So I'm just going to click through this because basically this is kind of like you've got to start somewhere. And this is a bit like painting, I suppose, composition, putting things together. You begin to start thinking, well, I've got two snap cards, so I'll put one there and I'll put one there, and we'll put them together, so see if people can spot there is two snap cards on there. And the majority of these things were going in there because they fit more than anything. You know what I mean? And then once you get up to a certain kind of size, it's getting more intense, and you've got to take a bit more time over it, you're going back over things, and then eventually you end up with the final thing, you know, that you might be sort of happy with in a kind of way. But what I'd like to point out is basically just some of the things, because when you're doing it, you can play little games, a bit like Tim's thing when you're looking for the things in. So the gun is pointing at the bird, I stuck a pin in there into the side of it, and this is an old piece of graphics from a cotton reel. The cow is looking at the guy who's rhinestone walling. Didn't do that, but goes to the Reverend. So yeah, but I purposely put this next to it because this is dry stone walling, which is kind of like on rocks and things that are not kind of like Lego, but Lego's like a building rocks. There's a juxtaposition there. This is interesting, well, not interesting, but that's a sticker from a rock from 1981 to commemorate the wedding of Charles and Diana. And I had this kind of X that I had. I thought, I'll put it on the top of the X because we're not married anymore. There's a little dog looking up at the artist and the arrow pointing at the thing. So there's lots of little hidden things in there that you might not come across. And nobody will probably have done this, but if you open up the Henry Winterman's, which is a cigar box, if you open that up, you'll find that basically my business card's in there from 1992. Yeah, I was a bit of my own arse then. I was a conceptual artist. Yeah. But it's true that though, your imagination is your only limitation. But there you go. So that was that. Typography and obsessions. I'm getting there. I'm going through this at a right rate, aren't I? I knew you'd leave here in the right date. I'm obsessed by typography. So I was lucky enough to have this book published in 2017. And this is my obsession. I came, for about 18 months, I was purely obsessed with producing this book. And it started out, really, and the journey, I've got a whole talk on this, right? So I'll just paraphrase it, really. So I started making kind of faces out of typography, just for a bit of a laugh. And I produced this on the photocopier on here. And I did animals as well. And my friend said, oh, I was a publisher, I know, you want to try and get me into a book? And I sent it off to them. I said, oh yeah, they were interested at a meeting in London and stuff like this. And eventually, they tasked me with making kind of like about 50, 60 animals. Forget the human faces, just do the animals. But when I did this, I kind of like wanted to, I thought, I'm going to have a book published. I was going to get quite excited, really, as you would. I I'd actually kind of blogged under the pseudonym of a dead relative for quite a few years on the Disciples. So whenever I put a post up there, if there's any written content, it was by the Reverend Jackson Whitehead. So I thought, oh, this is an opportunity for me to basically do, dress up again, or again. So alongside this book, I began to kind of like formulate a story about who had collected these things. So I went back to through our archive in Cumbria, and the Reverend is basically based on John Atkinson Whitehead, who is a relative of mine, and that's a photograph of him. So, I thought, right, I can become the Reverend. So I sort of like became the Reverend. And I grew my moustache for about 6 months to get a handlebar. My wife cut my hair. She made me a kind of like, ecclesiastical ruff. I had to go and find all this old gear and stuff like that. The spectacles were from the farm and everything like that. So I dropped in it, and then I created this story that goes in the book about the fact that the Reverend actually went round on a ship with Charles Darwin. There was 2 ships went round the world, not one. It wasn't just the Beagle. There was another ship, the sister ship that nobody knew about, the Pica. And I sort of like created a whole backstory. So using my graphic design ability, and also I found loads of objects from the farm. I slot myself the old picture into a really old album that we had up there. That's the Reverend's mother. Really God-fearing woman by the looks of her. And then kind of like, this telescope we had there. So all this, the chapel numbers, we had some of those. So kind of just creating on the objects. So I created this kind of backstory about the Reverend. So if you wonder where the Reverend came from, that's where it came from. But anyways, so this was kind of I've got these at the back of the room, you can have a look at them. So I created at least 9 books, all by hand. As I was doing it, I was creating them, hand-making them, and then showing them to the publisher. So went through quite a long process to produce the book. But ultimately what the book was a collection of type. Now in my office I've got loads of type books, and kind of like, so I thought, right, I'm going to systematically go through and find all the things I think might work. So what you have there is, that there is the startle. So they're the component parts to the lesser spotted startle. So I give them all names and a little bit of an imaginary kind of like habitat or trait. So the lesser spotted startle is the only known bird in the world that lays a rectangular egg. That's why it's startled. You know what I mean? And we animated that as well. I've got these animations, but I didn't put them in. So that bird will animate, and it will lay a square O. And there's loads of these: Pest octopus, Albert. That was the comma cat, made out of commas. It can be identified by its short paws. P-A-U-S-E. Loads. It was an opportunity to go wild on just puns and stuff like that. That's the 6th beetle, not the 5th. I won't really do anything about it. I think it taps its claws in time for the Mersey beat. But that's a squiffle, sand squiffle. And they're the Battersbys. Boris, Norris, Horace, Doris, Morris, and Vlad. So we start with Boris, from Boris Karloff, and ends with Vlad, and things rhyming in between. But I had a lot of fun with this, but the way I did it, I'm going to go a bit, it was just literally going through the books, looking at my type, working out which letter I might do, independently scanning it. I went through loads. I've got about 600 or 700, and then I began to sort of, each one of these was individually scanned in and isolated, and then just cleaned up a little bit using the brightness and darkness tool, and maybe a little bit of cloning, because I'm not very good at the computer, so no vector, just don't know what I'm doing. And these are just sort of some of them. C's were very good. I began to find out which letters were good for actually using, and I never used a K. And there were some letters that just never worked, which in itself was quite interesting. By the end of it, I knew what worked and what didn't, so I had numerals and stuff like this. But this is almost like a book in itself. You know what I mean? This resource, you can almost create a book. So, but I have this, and sometimes I will give it to students if they're doing a project or something. But going back to our session, I had them all silk screened downstairs. Then I had them all etched onto wood, and I printed them all out. I've still got the things, and then I printed them again, and these are all some of the wood etchings. And then kind of like, they printed them all. And yeah, and then it sort of came to an end really, and you can buy the book now for £3.49, I think. We were talking about publishing, Tim. They did 10,000. That's
10,000.
They printed 10,000. And for 1.0 it was in Waterstones, it got traction, it was in Magma and book, you know, so it is really nice to have a book and go into a shop and see that your book there, do you know what I mean? And I rung the publisher up and I just talked to him and said, how's it doing? He goes, well, they're not exactly cutting down trees, Andrew, he said.
How do you find, Andy, when you go into the bookshop though? They place it in the worst place. They seem to be right in the corner at the very end, and you sort of want to shift it to the front.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. They're kind of like, Fred Aldous, you know, he's kind of like, yeah, to the bottom. Yeah. You feel like just tip it. I'm just going to put it somewhere, no problem. I did have, is this on camera? Yeah. I did have a bit of a spat with the manager of Waterstones in Preston. Because I heard on the grapevine when the book that they said, you know, local Waterstones would support local publishers, you know. So I sort of emailed him and said, oh, would you fancy having a book launch at your Waterstones? I've had a new book and come and do a signing. Am I dressed as a fucking reverend, do you know? And he said no. He wasn't that interested. And I sort of like emailed him back, you know what I mean? And it was quite a snotty email. And I made the mistake really of actually, I thought to make it more official, Andy Bainbridge, senior lecturer at University of Central Lancashire, which was a mistake. Because basically, he then got in touch with the University of Central Lancashire and said, like, well, you've got one of your lecturers here. So I got an email that dragged into the office. Then the email was like, think on. Head of school at the time. I didn't know what I was going in for. And I sat there and I just said, well, yeah, what does he expect? Do you know what I mean? He expect some kind of contrition from me. That was made me even more angry. So what I did was, I thought, fuck you. So I got some books. You can have it. Anyways. Let's finish off with. No content. Paper bag archive. So there, Tim, there it is, 2004. That was the first time it was exhibited, yeah? That's the paper bag archive, not all of it, because we had it all round, yeah? And we sort of made a paper bag at the back of it. So one of the students had that idea. Why don't we make a big paper bag with paper bags, you know, at the back? And, what's that?
Blue back on the back of some of them.
That's probably why. That's probably why, yeah. So that's kind of like, yeah, that's the paper bag archive. Yeah.